Surprise! Happy recycling! Today, we're going to be talking about Rocko's Modern Life Zanzibar. It's about recycling and preserving our Mother Earth, so stick around!
Kick it.
Welcome to Splat Attack, a 90s podcast honoring the slime-filled past. I'm your great big pile of rotting vegetable matter, Kat.
And I'm your great big unruly mob leader, Alex. And Kat?
Yeah.
Why are there piles of trash in the studio?
Because it's time for spring cleaning! Spring cleaning!
Why are you singing? You know I'm not a fan of musicals.
Would you make an exception for a musical episode of a nostalgic 90s Nicktoon?
Go on.
Well, seeing that it is time for spring cleaning and Earth Day, etc., I figured we could talk about one of my favorite episodes of Rocko's Modern Life, Zanzibar, aka the Recycle episode. And by the way, this stuff isn't trash, okay? It's recycling, and I'm sorting all the recyclables because I wanted to make sure that we at Splat Attack are doing our part to help the environment. So, hey, there's someone here to help us. RECYCLE Recycle.
No, of course we've got to have somebody from Rocko here. So what is that? Oh my gosh, this is way too complicated for just a very simple guest intro. Why is this taking so long? What is that giant? Oh, hey, it's Howy Parkins, one of the animation directors from Zanzibar. How you doing, Howy?
Hi.
I'm good. Hello to both of you.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasant surprise to get invited to something that was very dear to me, I have to say, way back when.
Well, before yes, obviously, we're talking about the Recycle Zanzibar episode, and it's springtime. I've been spring cleaning since January. I've got a massive head start because my house was a mess, Kat. I got so tired of my house being a mess. But we are going to be talking about the Zanzibar episode. So we'll give a bit of an episode synopsis. But before we get into that, episode details. This was from season 3, episode 12A. The air date for this was April 21st, 1996. It was storyboarded by Jeff Swampy Marsh. Animation directors are Robert Hughes and Howy Parkins. And also the story was by Tim Hill and additional writing by Jeff Swampy Marsh and Dan Povenmire. Kat, tell us what happens in this episode.
Yes. The episode opens with the citizens of O-Town spring cleaning with a town-wide musical number, as you do. When they go to the dump, they find that it's too full to put any of their spring cleaning trash inside it, and Ed Bighead suggests dumping their trash, including Conglomo's toxic waste apparently, in the park, and sings a song about how little he cares about nature and the environment. Rocko and his friends become concerned about the pollution and environmental neglect plaguing their community, and Captain Compost Heap, not Murky the Bear, Captain Compost Heap, you remember him, right? He's our hero, gonna take pollution down to no, that's something else. Captain Compost Heap helps the town start a musical campaign encouraging recycling, conservation, and a cleaner town. Catchy songs and theatrical flair help to rally the citizens, and Rocko says, sappy as they are, the songs make a good point. The citizens are doing their part, but Conglomo is responsible for a lot of the town's pollution. The company owns everything, it's in their motto, including City Hall, so the citizens don't know if they can convince it to change because, as they sang, you can't fight City Hall. And despite the fact that Rocko doesn't know the words or choreography to any of these songs because he missed rehearsals on Thursdays, he leads the citizens to march to Conglomo headquarters with a lot of fanfare, demanding that they see the board of directors. And the security guard nonchalantly lets them in. Rocko meets with Mr. Dupet and the board of directors and asks them to clean up the company's act. The town reprises the theme song and rolls the credits. No, they reprise the Recycle musical number. And Dupet nonchalantly again agrees to help. Okay, sure, sounds good. He reveals that Ed Bighead is in charge of waste disposal, and we see Ed reluctantly doing his part to clean up. The neighborhood arrives at Ed's door to thank him, but Ed is still not on board with recycling or helping the environment, and he blames the crowd for all the cleanup work he's had to do. He makes fun of their musical numbers and sings a song about his apathy and not having the patience to recycle. And of course, instant karma strikes when a UV ray shoots down from the sky and burns him to a crisp. Captain Compost Heap leaves us with the lesson, so you see, boys and girls, if you're not nice to Mother Nature, she'll kick our butts. End of episode. Jazz hands.
Well, before we started the episode, we were having a little banter back and forth with Howy, and he had shared with us something that I think was kind of interesting. So, Howy, before we really got going, you were mentioning that someone mistook you as an accountant.
Well, that's the thing about animation timing is it's pretty solitary. All the heavy liftings, well, the visual heavy lifting's been done. Obviously the boards, the board artists did their part. The animatic gets built, so all the timing is sort of, we can get a rough look at how the gags are playing, how the scene lengths are working together, and you start noodling frames and everything. And then once the supervising director and Joe Murray have weighed in, then it goes to X sheets, and then it's just focusing scene by scene, watching the animatic, and then working out the timing frame wise for the action, the comedy moments. We do lip assigning. So we're sitting in a room with a monitor and earphones, and it's super quiet in there because we're so for the first few months, there was one guy in production that had no idea he literally thought we were the accounts department, making payroll and cutting checks, and we were like, come by one day and we'll explain and kind of walk you through it. And to me, animation timing is crucial. I mean, like you can get a really strong storyboard and a really fun episode, but if the timing's off or it's just not hitting the marks, it's a lot of retakes. It'll upset many people. Animators are doing what they're told to do on your following your X sheets. But yeah, if you want a really strong episode, make sure your timing is spot on. And so yeah, pressure was on, but we are kind of like the sort of, there's not much glory in timing, like 'cause, you're quietly sitting there focusing. So, but for this type of show, it was so fun to work out, and especially because it was physical and just silly. And this episode, Zanzibar, wow, it was, hats off to Dan and and Jeff or Swampy. They what an episode! Like, and for a timer, boy, did I have my there was a few late nights, let's just say.
I bet.
But
Everyone's wondering, why are you humming about recycling? What's going on? What?
oh my God. I think that was my last episode of that season, and I had a trip to Hawaii booked. I could not get those songs out of my head. I was in Hawaii, even when I went to a luau, I still heard, Rocko and Heifer. So yeah, but what an episode. It was a challenge for sure for me to time that out. But boy, when I saw the final episode and those guys, man, the songs and the lyrics were so clever.
Now, how did you get involved in being part of Rocko?
Well, I'm originally from Canada. I went to Sheridan College and studied animation, and then graduated. First thing I worked on was Care Bear movie in 1985, actually 84. Then 85 we did Ewoks and Droids, and then it all went away. That's usually how it is in Toronto. So I jumped on a plane and went to England, worked in London for a bit, and bounced back and forth. Got a job on Roger Rabbit, back in the day. Then spent 2 years in Germany, Munich, Berlin, and then ended up coming to LA back in the early 90s because there was just a ton of work going on. And got a job on early Simpsons. I know this is Splat, but sort of anyway. So a few seasons of Simpsons, and that's what got me the job on Rocko. They wanted timers that could do, when they were putting the crew together, and I was sort of in hiatus. The timing was perfect. They called me up, whoever the producer was, and the fact that we're doing character layout on Simpsons and timing, that's what they were after. So they called me, and of course it was, like I said, timing perfect. I think I joined them first season right out of the gate, so we were still kind of finding the show.
Yeah. You worked on some other Nicktoons as well in your career, right?
Yeah, early Rugrats. Yeah, yeah, first season Rugrats, and again that landed perfectly after second season Simpsons. Klasky had got Rugrats off, up and running, and they tapped some of us to stick around, and we used to call it the baby show. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the baby show, so which it was,
Yes.
nothing, not a slight. It was a show about babies. So anyway, yeah, and that was great. Again, working timing and getting some of their kind of animated camera moves, and that was a fun challenge in itself. Some of the Simpsons crew left to go work on Ren and Stimpy, but the way my work visa was set up, I couldn't leave Plasky. I was under a work permit at the time, so it was convenient that they were able to bridge me through seasons 2 and 3 of Simpsons. Trying to think, and then I did a few Hey Arnold episodes just before I left to go over to the Disney company. So
The House of Mouse.
yes, but and like I said, I'm glad I got to stick around for the whole entire series of Rocko, from start to finish. Yeah, it was
So cool.
yeah, well,
Uh, what? Yeah, because you had mentioned timing.
yeah.
That was the crucial. I'm assuming was the crucial thing that you were in charge of. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were just given an assignment, like one episode. Hey, guess your next. Here's your next storyboard. Um, and I'd done a few episodes with Dan and Jeff, and it was always a challenge. Those guys love to push the limits, and which was a challenge, and I enjoyed it. And I see where I think now I look back in Zanzibar, especially you sent me the episode, and I'm like, this is where Phineas and Ferb came from, because
Mhm.
their
Mm.
episodes of Phineas just start out small and then just suddenly, it's like a massive production of. So that's all Zanzibar, or the episode, the Recycle episode, was maybe them just testing the waters for their future productions. But um,
Didn't you? I think you mentioned to me in the email that this was Dan's idea and was pitching it to Joe. Is
I
that
think
correct?
so. Yeah, yeah. They really wanted to do it, and then sort of turn it into a kind of a musical. Uh, so those guys wrote all the songs, and board. Choreography was wonderful. That was really well done. They worked that out quite nicely in board. So it made my job, because everything was there. Everything I needed was there, and if it wasn't, we could get it. But in hindsight, I remember that being a lot of work because of all the moving parts in each scene. But um, yeah, they would check in on me, and I could go to them and say, "Hey, can you bust out a quick? I need Rocko in this pose to match Heifer." So before the scene cut, and they were more than happy to just drop everything and bang, get on back on recycle. So yeah, and again, they were just down the hall, and we had a great kind of clubhouse kind of feel to the studio. So it was a wonderful environment, absolutely. And like I said, you see it in the episodes.
Yeah. So timing for a musical episode with like all of the group scenes, like you think choreography like for real life actors, but then you're thinking like choreography for cartoons and timing and how that all works. Is that more of a challenge for something like Zanzibar compared to other episodes?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I had to work with obviously have the music track playing, and then we ask for a click track, which will give us beats. So if the timing's 4/4, I'll hear that and the track reader also hears it, so he'll mark an X every time there's a beat that I have to hit. So if they're in a down post, like while they're doing a lift and down, I know where to hit the top of a move and then bend their knees and bring them down, and then bounce them between the two. So yeah, the click track was yeah, exactly. So yeah, and like I said, the guys gave me plenty of poses, so it was just a matter of just working with the tracks, listening to and doing lip assigning, make sure everyone's in sync, um, or bouncing back and forth. So, like I said, I went to Hawaii after, so I was like, moving right down. I looked,
RUCYCLE recycle.
Now,
yeah.
on some of those cells, did they have individuals? Like, did they have one of Rocko and one of Heifer, or did they have the
Oh,
two of
yeah.
them on the same on the same cell?
Oh, I imagine, like when I looked at the episode, revisited it, I was like, oh my God, the animation alone must have just been massive. And we did everything on cell. So there was probably a stack of heifer scenes, and then, Rocco would have been on a different, they might have even given that to a different animator. They may have duped the sheets or cut them down the middle and given the Rocco scene to, or acting to one animator, and then someone else did heifer. So yeah, they would have been on separate cells.
Because some of those shots had a ton of characters, especially whenever they would pan out, and I was wondering if they had some of those supporting characters on a single one, or if every single one of them had their own cell.
Probably the background characters you probably could, especially if they're moving, like if I had them moving in sync, they would probably all be done on one level, their own layer. And then the animator would have to just make sure, keep track of everyone. Yeah, we would send that stuff and then just hide under the bed because we didn't want to know what's going on. Oh, geez. Poor animator over in the studios that somehow pull this off every time. But yeah, we knew it was going to be, but I don't think we got any pushback. I mean, in digital world, it's much easier now, but they everything on paper and then, switch to cell.
Why the title Zanzibar? I always wondered. Was it a play on Xanadu? Was it something just
I
I
was too tired to ask. I just left. So yeah, find out, let me know. Because
Okay.
I forget. I don't know why it wasn't called the recycle episode, but
Yeah.
I didn't ask. I just grabbed it and did my
Now,
part.
Kat, I don't know if you had seen it or not, but there was
Hmm.
one very, very subtle joke in the show, which I think is kind of funny, considering the fact that you ended up working for Disney and Dan ended up working for Disney,
Oh yeah.
and there was, do you know where I'm going with this, Kat?
I think so, but continue.
There was absolutely a dead Mickey Mouse in
I
this episode.
Oh, I now got to go back and find that.
If
Well,
it obviously there wasn't something that you had animated, but if you had to guess who put that in there, who do you think?
well, let's see. It's a
It's
50
complete speculation.
50. I mean, it could have been somebody helping out on the board, but it's got to be one of the two.
when they're talking about like not destroying the flora and the fauna. Is that it? Where they have like the dead mouse? Or
No,
is it in the
no, it wasn't
background?
there. It was in the attic. When the old heifer's dad was pulling things out of the attic,
Oh
there's a
yeah, yeah,
mouse
yeah.
trap right in the front, and
And
it's
it's Mickey.
it's
Yeah,
very
I
clearly Mickey Mouse.
maybe if I saw the scene, I could tell by the drawing style if it was
Well,
the.
hang on. I'll
Oh, here
You're
we
gonna
go.
pull it up?
All right.
give me a sec. I'll get it for you.
I was doing an eagle eye thing trying to see when they threw the letters in the air, the paper. I'm like, are they spelling something? Like I was looking for little things, like little
Uh,
animation jokes in there.
over the years, we have put Easter eggs in that
Yeah.
on many productions that I've worked on that sometimes cost people. Let's see. Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
there he is, the red pants and the shoes.
Hmm. Yeah, look at that. That's cool. Never noticed it. Maybe back in the day. And again, this was way before I decided to go work for his company.
Of
Uh,
course.
and so, yeah, look at that.
How'd
Yeah,
that get in there?
Even the hand is off.
Oh gosh, yeah, it is.
I'll take the fifth on this one. It's either Dan or Swampy, but hey, I don't know. It was late. I didn't notice.
I wonder if that was Joe, because I believe in Joe's book he had talked about his dissatisfaction with Disney
Okay.
on more than one. So I'm going to say I think that was Joe.
Yeah, that might have been a late note. Hey, you know what? Maybe there
You know
was
what'd be funny is if we
yeah,
threw this in there.
exactly. And but yeah, no, they're all the productions I've ever worked in. There's been Easter eggs, especially in the layout department where people are putting stuff in the background. Um, there was one, not Rocko, but way back in Canada, I worked on a little show, and one of the main characters reaches for books on a shelf, like a bookshelf, and grabs the book of wisdom or whatever it is. But two books over was the Happy Hooker, but no one ever, no one, we knew, and no one caught it. I mean, it's probably in Dick's, but
Oh,
anyway,
that's great.
I will not
I could
name.
just sit here and listen to like all the Easter eggs that people remember because I know animators all the time. Just like, let's see if this gets by
There was one dude
standards.
on Simpsons that actually got let go, and he went to Disney TV and got let go because he kept doing it, and they just, yeah, they were anyway. So we kind of knew better. But that's funny. I wonder if that was Joe Murray.
Was there anything that stands out about, and I know I'm pulling from one episode out of the many that you've been part of, but was there anything about this episode that you remember being different outside of it just being a musical, or something that stands out while making this episode?
Well, I liked that the guys wanted to take an environmental thing, which really wasn't a big thing back then, but they really wanted to educate the audience on what's going on in the world environmentally, and I thought I felt honored to be a part of that episode.
And
And
that hit right at the time when Nickelodeon was really doing a push too. I
I
don't
was just
know.
gonna say, yeah, the Big Help
Yeah,
was
the
around
big
the
help
same
was huge.
time, and oh
yep,
yeah,
yeah, that's probably the main thing. And I was impressed with it was a fun board to work with, but just the subject matter for me was dear, so it was easy to get into right away.
We'll branch away from this episode for a bit. Do you have any favorite memories from working on Rocko?
Yeah, I mean, we were a real collective team. There was a lot of like, functions or, people would have a pool party and pretty well everybody would show up, Uh, we had, I think it was Thursday night, we had it's long gone now here in Studio City, but we would go play volleyball every Thursday night and it would be like rollerball. Like it was like physical and like arguments would break out and it got intense and but it was fun, and then we'd all go out for drinks after. So there was a nice community and support group. I remember back in those days, like we had a PA system, so if I got a phone call from someone, my name would come over the and I could answer the phone. But someone discovered the all page button, and so there would just be these. I think it was Tommy Asumi, one of our timers. He would just play random songs that, that would just come out of nowhere. And I mean, I think it was him. I'm not sure, but it got abused a lot. And he wasn't the only one. There was announcements made that were really funny, sort of like, yeah, yeah. It was like a summer camp, And so, yeah, that's a good way to put it. It was a summer camp, actually, like shenanigans and pranks, and there was always something something that would happen in the week that became a thing. And I think we had some romances, of course, absolutely, some dating, of course, and yeah, your typical studio stuff. But like I mentioned, it just always felt like there was no adults in the room, and that's what made the environment so fun.
Because you had recently watched the episode from where I had sent it to you. Watching it again after, I'm assuming it had been a while since you've seen it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was
Absolutely.
what is your impression of watching the episode again after all these years?
I think I just how much I adored the characters. Like Heifer was just such a great character, and Rocko playing, the sort of the grounded one. Yeah, one of my favorite characters was Heifer, and I love that he went on. The actor went on to become SpongeBob, obviously, but um, yeah, just the relationship and the silliness of the episode, just the entertainment value was so high. It was so fun. So and hats off to the board team, all the other board teams. That it just seemed every episode that came my way was just a load of fun to work on. So and clever and wow, where did this come from, kind of thing. You know, like what we put those two, Rocco and Heifer. And what was the dog's name again? I don't think he was in.
Spunky.
Spunky.
Yeah,
I almost said pork chop. Wrong Nick
I
too.
know you
Nick
did. Wrong
Spunky.
joke.
yeah, a
Spunky.
little, just yeah, it was just a really fun little community, and of course all the sort of neighbors that live next door. Yeah, it was fun to reconnect with that world again, for sure. Thanks for sending me the episode.
Well, my pleasure. That's the least I could do.
But yeah, I mean, I'm still
Yep.
stuck on like Murky the Bear and Captain Compost Heap. Like it's
Yes,
so obvious. It's Murky the Bear.
I have to say that made me laugh out loud back in the day, but that getting that shot to work just right. Hey, look, it's Murky the Bear, and then revealing that
Yeah.
no, that stuff like that is always fun to do in timing.
Yeah.
Misdirect. And then that who I can't remember who the voice actor was for that compost heap, but nailed it. Totally, and a great design. So, yep,
I mean, comedy is it's all in the timing, right? Like I feel like we could talk about the episode, but it's more enjoyable just to watch it, like because there are jokes, like every other beat there's some sort of joke in there, and it's just I it's one of the ones that I rewatch, like, and it stuck with me all these years. Even like I saw it a couple times during reruns, but I still remember the songs.
yep,
Still,
yep. Very
perfect
catchy,
clarity.
and yeah, like I said, those guys, yep, they nailed it. And yeah, and it's a very like you could that episode just flew by when I rewatched it. Like it just it
Yeah,
was.
that was also Tom Kenny. I had to look it up
I thought it was too. Yeah,
for
Oh,
yeah.
as
Captain Compost
the
Heap.
compost.
Captain
Mhm.
Compost Heap.
Awesome. But yeah,
CCH.
the pacing of that, sometimes 12 minutes, it was hard to cut these down because there were so many great moments, and it was a challenge, and you had to make sure it can, lift a gag, and then maybe they can use that again in another episode because but we just had to,
I
that,
was just going to ask, in your position, what were some of the challenges that you would face?
well, just that you would cut it together and get it to play, and the jokes were working, the timing, but suddenly you're at 13 minutes 48 seconds and we're trying to cut down to 12, so you just go home and come back in, good night's sleep, maybe a night out, I don't know. But anyway, you come in and you rewatch it, and then you try lift out things and see if anyone notices they've gone. Hopefully not. If they don't miss them, that was usually, hey, if I didn't notice it, I don't miss it. So or if it had to come out, I would go back to the board team and say, look, it's a great gag, but it kind of was not necessary.
Yeah.
Pin it up on the wall, and maybe bring it, write a whole another episode around that one gag. Who knows? So But everybody, we were all, by the time we'd sign off on the 12-minute version, everybody was happy. There was nobody, that felt, hey, you killed our episode. What did you do? Which was,
Oh,
no, we would never. So we were all kind of all about the moving forward and everybody's happy. So yeah. Um, yeah, I'm so glad you picked that episode because that, you know, was a challenge and that's one I'm proud of many of those episodes, but that one in particular because of how involved it was and all the moving parts.
Yeah, and it's such a unique episode within the entire scope of Rocko. I don't think there's another
yeah.
episode that's like this one.
I was trying to think same. Did anybody
Yeah.
else do yeah, like a musical and choreography
I
and
don't think,
Yeah.
not for Rocko.
No, I don't think so. Because like musicals, like there's Animaniacs and other cartoons that are musical, but then this was just a standalone, I believe.
and everyone we pulled it off in my opinion.
Now, you said at the beginning, just talking about Rocko and how Rocko was near and dear and all that. What was it about your experience doing Rocko that made this unique and special for you?
Well, I think working with Joe Murray, I mean, it was his production and he was such he was very respectful of all the departments, and he could see what we were bringing, and he might have had suggestions, but we were always on the same page, and he was just happy with everything. There was no fight. There was no, you usually get notes from the fifth floor that suddenly undo everything or, maybe contradict what you were, but no, he would laugh out loud at when he would watch our timing or, maybe have a suggestion, but it was an easy meeting. Like I never dreaded a Joe Murray screening. I would just sit to the side and watch them watch the show, the episode, and it was fun watching them crack up and yeah, and again he really respected the timing department, because we were there to take it to the next level and we felt it, and that I think helped the cohesiveness of Rocko. There was no departments. We were all just one big summer camp, I guess. So yeah, it was a joy to work on, and I was sad when it came to an end. But sometimes you just feel like, okay, well, it's time to go on to the next thing, and that's when around that time is when Disney had called, and I kind of went over to check out what they got going on.
On to the net, on to bigger and better.
Well, later on, right? Because Steve Hillenberg called me into his office, and he goes, "I hear you're leaving us," and he confided in me. He said, "Well, I just got my pilot greenlit, so I'll be calling you later." And he pitched the idea to me, and I was like, "All right, yeah, that sounds fun," but it's just got a ways to go. So I go to Disney, and back in those days, there was so much work going on, and DreamWorks had just started their studio. So they pull out this like thing I'd never seen before, a contract, and so and I'm an artist. What do I know? I just want to do storyboards or timing, and so they was like a 2 year with a third optional, and I signed away, and I was happy with the salary and whatever. Just when do I start? And so fast forward to my phone ringing, and it's Steve Hillenberg. Hey, we got SpongeBob's to go, and I was like, all right, I'll give my notice, and I'll be right there. And so I did. I started giving 2 weeks notice. I think I was maybe in hiatus back then. We had like a paid. I don't think I was on any particular production. So I figured perfect timing. And I literally was saying goodbye to people on Friday. And then they called me up to oh, that's right. I had gone over earlier to see where I'd be sitting to work on. I think they were going to have me work on Angry Beavers for a while until the SpongeBob really got on. So it was cool. Yeah, I'd heard a lot of great things about. So I Friday, last day of Disney TV, and they were like, they need to see you upstairs. So I'm thinking, all right, they just want to send me off. And so I walk into the room, and there's the main person and a person I've never seen before who turns out to be the lawyer. And there's my contract sitting on the table. And they basically said, you're not going anywhere. Like, you signed this contract.
Whoops.
And yeah, that was pretty well my reaction. Whoops. Really?
Whoops.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was a little, oh well. So I had to call over to Nickelodeon and tell them that. And by then, I think some other people had gone through the same thing, and it was getting to the point like lawyers were talking, and the two people that left Disney TV to go over to Nick had been sent home until they got it figured out. So I was the third, but not able to get away. And in hindsight, I had a wonderful. I was there 28 years after that, so done a ton of wonderful projects at Disney as well. So, but yeah, I just had to. And once SpongeBob started airing, it was like killing me that I couldn't get over there. Like I knew it was going to be massively popular and really fun and well done. And a lot of the Rocko crew went over to work on.
There were a lot of similarities between the two shows too, if you think about it. It's just like single character and pet. You got Spunky, and then you got Gary, and then the sort of doofus best friend and the cranky next door neighbor. Like all the tropes are there, but they're so very different shows.
Absolutely,
but it works. Like both worlds work.
Yeah. So luckily I was on Recess and loving it.
Love that show.
So I was in a good place, and and I figured once SpongeBob was off to the races, I just became a fan. I didn't need to go be a part of it. I was okay, and again, Disney kept throwing me another production after the other. So yeah, it all. I took the right fork in the road, I guess, but that silly contract. Well, it turned out it all worked out, but yeah, it's nowadays we just have project contracts. Once that's over, you're free to go. But hey, so that was my almost SpongeBob story.
Well, that is going to be it as far as our interview with Howy. Again, Howy, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. This was a pleasure. I'm going to be smiling. And it's my birthday today, too. So.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah. So I'm going to go out for dinner in a bit. So, yeah.
All right. Well, have a good birthday dinner.
Yeah, no, this was like the perfect birthday gift. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
All right. Well, even though Howy is no longer here for the rest of the episode, we still have quite a bit more episode for you guys. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So we're going to segue into our commercial break because modern life, modern commercials. So stick around, see what's going on in the world of Splat Attack. We'll be right back. C-O-M-M-E or C-I-A commercial. That might be far too many syllables. Oh, don't sneak up on me like that. Well, we'll be back with more Splat Attack podcast after these commercial breaks. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Splat Attack. If you are enjoying this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe, make sure to hit that notification bell. If you are listening on a podcast app, please leave us a review. These very simple actions from you have a big impact for us. Obviously, if you're watching this episode, you enjoy Rocko's Modern Life. And if you like to talk 90s nostalgia, why don't you check us out over on Patreon? Go to patreon.com/SplatAttack, where we have exclusive mini-sodes every Friday that's talking about nostalgia. We also have slime streams twice a month where we get to watch things like Rocko, and it's more fun because, it's like Mystery Science Theater 3000. We commentate, and it's funny. Ha ha! So why don't you come join us over on patreon.com/SplatAttack and have some ha-has with us. CLOTHING, it's clothing. You can find it on BONFIRE Bonfire. Make sure to use the hyphen or you might go to a different page. Get your super awesome swag and not your boring value brand. Support us by going to completely stopping this number now. Go to bonfire.com/store/SplatAttack store because I just sang a song about it. Tune in next time, Slimesters, when our interviews get a little more animated and we talk Space Ghost, coast to coast. You can find all the retro-rific action only here on Splat Attack.
Ha! Snuck up on you this time. Ha! That's what you get. Sneaking up on me earlier. We're back with more Splat Attack podcast. I'm gonna go find a recycle bin.
Welcome back. No, wait, opposite wave. Welcome back, all of you Slimesters.
Wax on, wax off.
Wax off. And we hadn't really had an opportunity to talk about this just yet because you had mentioned earlier, Kat, that this was one of your favorite episodes. Is that right? From Rocko?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the standout ones. This and Wacky Deli, I think, are my top two.
Well, we need to grade it. We have not rated these. We got to give our review of it. So, Kat, what are your thoughts on this episode and what rating do you give it?
I'm gonna give it a triple S. Like, it's rewatchable, it's catchy as all heck. It's holds up 30 years later.
Almost.
Yeah, almost. Like 29 years. Yeah, 30 years later, and it's so fun to revisit. It's educational, it's musical, it's got everything. Classic. What about you?
So it is no secret that I do not like musicals. However, animation and musicals kind of go hand in hand. A lot of people like to throw out, well, what about Disney? Disney movies are musicals. Yeah, but I grew up with that stuff, and that was targeted to kids. And I don't know, it feels right in animation because you can do so much with animation. And there is a musical that's out there that that Auburn, who's been in a couple of episodes before, Game On episodes, she's been trying to get me to watch for a long time, called The Man Who Hates Musicals. And it's this guy
That describes you.
it is a musical, but the lead actor or the lead character knows he's in a musical and absolutely hates it and hates everything about musicals. And she's like, you need to watch this. And I'm like, yeah, but here's the problem. It's still a musical. I don't want to watch it. But a lot of the tropes that she was telling me that they played in that musical was in this episode. Only it was Rocko. He didn't hate musicals, obviously, but they had those tropes of...
Why was everyone singing?
We've just got a song in our hearts.
How is it you all know the words? Did you rehearse?
Yeah, every Thursday.
those kind of moments. And even the
Well, there's a catchy tune that goes with it, but I missed the rehearsals.
like those little moments is what made it special for me. And of course the parodies of Smokey the Bear and Compost Heap. And I also loved Ed Bighead and what he ended up going through. And I also thought it was kind of funny that Conglamo just went,
Okay.
it was funny. It was a very funny episode, but I also liked the fact that they even called out that this is kind of cheesy. This is a bit hokey.
What a sappy song. But sappy as it is, it still makes a good point.
And I like that. Educational shows, edutainment, that's the word I'm looking for. Edutainment is difficult to pull off and do well because you get either a whole lot of entertainment with a little bit of education, or the other way around. Very heavy-handed in education, and it's super boring. There are exceptions to that, of course. We all could name a few, but I really liked this episode because it didn't feel preachy. It did take something that's a serious issue, and they still addressed it with sincerity, as much sincerity as you're going to get out of Rocko's Modern Life. You still had the fart sound effects. You still had complete parodies of Smokey the Bear and all these other things. But it was like, yeah, this is dumb. This is silly.
It's self-aware.
But this is happening. And I really liked that. I don't know if this was a Nickelodeon push or if this was a hey, let's just do this thing because this is an important thing and we need to throw this in there. Because I mean, not to shift too hard, but over on Ren and Stimpy, they would do things like that of we need more hearts. And then he said, fine. John Kay did an episode about Stimpy's fart going missing. And it's a very sweet episode, but it's got that dark sense of humor that Ren and Stimpy's known for. This is kind of in that same thing. I'm wondering if one of the Nick executives, because the big help was taking place at the time, and all these, I mean, Alex Mack had a recycle episode. So many TV shows had recycle episodes. And I'm wondering if this was something that they just decided, okay, Nickelodeon wants us to do this, so here's going to be our goofy take on it.
Honestly, it feels that way. It honestly does. It doesn't feel like a normal traditional Rocko episode, but I don't fault it for that because of the self-aware spin and the humor that they put in it.
Because there was no way. If this was something that Nickelodeon said, hey, we need to do this episode, there's no way they could tie it into a normal episode and it not come off sounding preachy and hokey and cheesy. So let's lean into that and intentionally make it really hokey and cheesy. And if either way, whatever the reason was, this was the end result, and it was a lot of fun. I'm also going to give this a triple S. This was a great episode. I have no negative notes for this one. This was a very standout episode. I enjoyed this one. So we have another one going into the Splat Attack Pantheon. Please welcome into the Splat Attack Pantheon, Rocko's Modern Life, Season 3, Episode 13A, Zanzibar.
You know what it reminds me of is it's very Animaniacs coded, where they also had educational musicals that were self-aware and had those jokes. So,
all right, well, to end our episode, we have to have our segment. But you know what we're going to start doing now? We've got Splat Stanley here, so he's going to help us to figure out what our segments are going to be. So, hey, Splat Stanley, what segment are we doing, bub?
Alrighty, let's give it a spin and see what we got. S-P-I-N-N-I-N-G, I'm spinning. Oh.
Rename Game is the segment that we're doing.
Alright, well, you guys heard from the Splat of Stanley. We've got Rename Game, which is pretty self-explanatory. If we had to rename this episode, what would we rename it? So, Kat.
My first thought is not my best thought, but I'll say it anyway.
Go for it.
Yep. Reusical the Musical. That's what I'm going with. Final answer.
There are so many times, guys, for those of you who are listening, where we're in our meetings, Kat would be like, my first thought, it's not my best thought, and like, no. All of us are like, no, Kat, your first thoughts are always the best thoughts, because it's what we're all thinking.
Thank you for saying that, but that's a lie. I just said Reusical the Musical. It is nowhere near my best thought.
But it's still good. Like, so many times when you would just, like, spit something out. You're like, you know what? I should apologize for that. You're like, no, you shouldn't. That was a great thing you
First
just
thought,
said.
no, best thought. Improv. Go. What's a pun and or rhyme? That's my...
Reusical the Musical is Kat's rename, and mine is Big Head's Pollution Solution. So, you guys should know the drill by now. If you don't, well, I'll tell you. Go over to our Instagram page and check it out, because we will post these two up there, and then vote for which one you like the best. And then one of us will just have bragging rights for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But either way.
Neener.
Neener, chicken diener. But that is going to be it for our very short episode this week. It was After the last couple episodes, I need a nice little. We've had
What,
some. We've
you
had
don't
some
want another
behemoths.
elimination bracket? We can do an
Oh.
elimination bracket about elimination brackets.
We did an elimination bracket, and then the Pete, or not the Pete and Pete, but then the top, the Nickelodeon stars, and now it's a nice simple episode review. This is great. So if you guys haven't checked out our episodes from this season so far, check out some of our other stuff. We got some good stuff for you. But we do have a closing question for all of you Slimesters, which is, what's another educational earworm from your childhood? You can write to us via email at splatattack2021@gmail.com. DM us on all of our socials. Just look for Splat Attack Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not done that. Clickety-click right there. Interact with us wherever you can. We're always happy to hear from you guys. Until next time, Kat, will you help me clean the studio, please?
Aye, aye, Coke, Cat, and Compost Heap, but only if we can sing about it.
Oh, no.
RECYCLE recycle, CONSERVE conserve. Don't you POLUTE pollute the river,
Splat
sky,
you
or sea,
later,
or else you're gonna
Slimesters.
get what you deserve. This episode was recorded at Splat Attack Studios in virtual home studios, though none in Florida.